Morning, everybody. One more time. Good morning, everybody. Somebody told me we were celebrating today. Celebrating we are. There is truly a lot to celebrate, as Chairman said. It is my honor to have been invited to be with you today. Thank you to Chairman Roberts and the entire leadership of Yochadehe Winter Nation. We welcome Chairman Wright and thank the leadership of Quetzaldehe Winter Nation. Representative Thompson, of course, my partner in Congress, not with us today physically, but with us in spirit, absolutely, is also Representative Garamendi, who's been a champion for this effort for many, many years. It is a big deal to have Tracy Stone Manning from the Bureau of Land Management here with us. More to do after this today, but we appreciate you being here for today's ceremony. Secretary Wade Crowfoot, on behalf of Governor Newsom in the state of California, you'll hear from him, and so many state officials, local officials, and community leaders who have helped make today possible. Now, some of what I'm going to share is for those of you sitting here today, but also for the folks that are streaming in or going to get a chance to experience this ceremony by way of media coverage. So I just would like to point out that we're gathered just south of the Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument, which we're proud to announce now includes over 13,000 acres of the sacred land referred to as Molokluyuk. You know it better than I, that for thousands of years, condors flew over the ridges and rivers behind us. The mountains were home to rich biodiversity of both plants and wildlife. And the Putnam people have kept watch over the land that they called home. And yes, we led efforts legislatively in Congress. I'll acknowledge that in a minute, the many partners that have been part of that. But politics in the Congress being what it is right now, we knew that we also had the option to appeal to the spirit, to the heart, and to the wisdom of the Biden-Harris administration to utilize their authorities under the Antiquities Act to make these designations and protection happen. And because of that signature by President Biden in the Oval Office a couple of weeks ago, I was there to witness. We know that the advocacy of so many of you in the audience today has been successful. And that once again, the Putnam people will be custodians of these lands. Now, I mentioned this is a product of executive action, but it was in part a response to our legislative efforts. And in those efforts, as I mentioned to the tribal leaders before we began the ceremony, I'm just honored to have done my small part. And as many people have been at this, not just for years, but for decades. But part of the congressional effort included Representatives Thompson, Garamendi, and the late Senator Dianne Feinstein, who was also committed and supportive of expanding the national monument to include Molokluyuk. And together with the administration, we made it happen. We've been at it for years, but for decades, it's been tribal leaders and allies who have called on the federal government to protect this land. And so I want to take a moment to thank you, because we would not be here without your relentless and tireless advocacy. Can we just give you all a round of applause? Now, in addition to protecting these sacred lands, this is also a key element of meeting our state's goals of protecting 30% of lands in the state of California. So when we protect the rich biodiversity and establish wildlife corridors, we're helping protect the natural beauty that makes California so unique. And to think that we're doing so while protecting tribal origin stories, safeguarding lands that were taken from tribal nations, and preserving cultural, and sacred histories for future generations. Again, truly so much to celebrate. And along with that, not just symbolic, but from the spirit of justice, renaming the ridge to Moloch Luyuk, or Condor Ridge in the Patwin language. This is truly a historic moment for the Patwin people and for the entire state of California. In addition to all that, I'm telling you, a lot to celebrate. What we're about to witness is yet another historic milestone for the nation. We're about to embark on a new era of public land management. And if it was up to me, we'd be setting a new standard of cooperative stewardship between the United States federal government and tribal governments. These co-stewardship agreements that were going to be signed momentarily, I see the beautiful setup already, will give tribal leaders a long overdue formal role and responsibility to offer their deep personal knowledge of the history and ecology of the area so that we protect these lands and celebrate these lands with our children and future generations. So as you can see, there's some exciting days to come. Whether it's watching tribes and the Bureau of Land Management officially sign these stewardship agreements and how they develop over the years, to one day, maybe us gathering again here in the future to watch the condors finally fly again over the ridge. Thank you all so much for being here today. Back to Mr. Chairman.